Today we're doing a 2006 Corvette with a supercharger. It's been here before. It's the one I did the oil cooler on, several other things, the whole piston job. But we're just going to put a starter in it today. We're upgrading from the stock starter to this excess torque. It's a reduction starter. It's cranking over a bit slow for him, so we're going to put this guy in. It's an indexable starter, so it's something that we're going to have to turn and find the right position for this to all clear the header and block properly. Maybe it's indexed right, maybe not, but most likely we'll have to index it. So I'm going to keep going here, but I already started. I just took the two bolts that hold the starter in place off after disconnecting the battery cable, and I'll let you guys see the rest of the process here as I go through it. So the starter is very, very hot on this thing. This is the customer stopped by for me to do it on the spot. So the headers are hot, the side of the motor's hot, everything's hot, but I'll get it done. So this is that terminal for the S terminal on that starter. I cut it a little bit long. I'm gonna extend the wire on it for putting the new one on. Also, as a side thing, I'm going to keep this in my electric bin just in case somebody else happens to need one. It's nice to have little parts like that. I like to keep them. Now, you may have seen me use these in the other channel before, but or the other videos before. But these are little solder shrink things. I'm going to use one of these to extend the wire, and then I'm going to put the end on here. Okay, so I got the thing solder shrinked on there. I don't know how well you can see that. That little piece right there. See the solder's flowed in through there. And then I have my little eyelet connector on here. Definitely needs to be indexed. This part here is hitting the crank sensor big time. This is probably at least a bolt and a half off from the bolt hole lining up. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen up these little torque spits, and then I'll be able to turn it to adjust it to where it needs to be. So I went to adjust this thing, and the ring inside here, it's too tight of a fit. It's like a small press fit. I was not able to turn it after I took this locking mechanism off that was sitting here. So I'm going to go ahead and just lightly sand this with some emery cloth to give it a little more room. Put it back together, and then I'll be able to clock it. Took a lot more than I expected it to, but I got it so I can turn this now. It's not so locked up. I had to do a little bit of sanding and then ARP lube just so I can make it so I can turn the darn thing. I don't know why they had it so tight. Okay, so this is unfortunate. I have to pull the starter back down and extend the main cables. The main power cable for this thing is not long enough, and I'm going to re-index it a little bit closer to the crank sensor because it's awfully close to the header. Okay, so I got this thing so that I have heat shrink tubing holding the two wires together along with a bunch of solder. I soldered them together, and then this end is also soldered, crimped, and heat shrinked. But you can see where these wires are. They're really close to the header. So what I have to do is take and slide this fiberglass sock over top of the wire, and then use this metal zip tie to hold it onto the wire in position. And then I'll be able to put the starter back in. Okay, so I got it all installed. You can see the new bolts. I did not put the cover on. It interferes. There's no way it's going to fit on there with that size starter. You can see the fiberglass heat protector. And then the S terminal wire goes up over there. And I make sure that I always have plenty of clearance between the header, wires, starter, any of that stuff. I don't want it close to those headers because those headers will destroy things. So they get just way too hot. So now I just have to hope like hell that I don't have to bother with shimming the starter. Hopefully the stock shim is good. Alright, so I got the battery cable connected back up, and then I have a jumper. This is relay 43, I think. Yeah, 43. And that's the starter relay. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to jump it and I'm going to listen. I can't really get a feeler in there to feel the gap and see what the gap is. But you can tell by the noise if it's... I know how these starters are supposed to sound. If it's a little bit too quiet, that means it's too far of a gap. If it's too loud, it's too close of a gap, and you got to open it up. So I'm basically going off the sound. You guys won't be able to necessarily judge it on a video, I don't think. But here's what it's supposed to sound like. It's a little louder than stock, but that's the way these starters are because they're gear reduction with spur gears. So that's normal. Now if you look in there, you can actually see the shiny new starter inside there, which is kind of cool. You can see the label and everything. Who knows how long that'll actually last for, but that's about all there is for that. Starter job complete. Now this guy can move on to what little projects he has. The garage is nice and emptied out. Got that starter job done. The guy took the car for a drive. We went out to grab some Dairy Queen of all things, you know, just grab a bite to eat. And it started great every time. Then he drove it all the way home, which is approximately a half-hour drive. And he sent me a message and said the hot start concern is fixed. So his original problem was a hot start. Basically what would happen is when the car was hot and he parked it, say he went to a gas station for instance, the car is hotter than that. And he comes out, goes to start it, and it will rip. If he was lucky it would start, otherwise it wouldn't, and he'd have to let the car sit and wait until it cooled down enough to start. So what I would imagine happened to this starter assembly here is that the magnets inside this case, you know, it's just a DC brushed DC motor. I'd imagine that the magnets inside here have broken down, probably from getting too hot from the header. It's the original starter, at least that's our guess. It's the original starter, and it's got a lot of miles on it and a lot of beat downs on it. So I'd imagine it just got too hot and couldn't take any more. That better starter in there, which is good anyway. He needed a stronger starter for the motor he has. It's a little bit higher compression build, so it's good to have a heavier starter with higher compression. Just a lot easier on the whole electrical system. So he's happy. If you like this video, please hit the like icon. Don't forget to share, subscribe, whatever you can do to help me out to provide more footage for you. I will gladly keep providing footage as long as we continue to get subscribers and keep this channel going. Thanks for watching, and click on any of the links for any further videos.